What's going on? Welcome back to Fanatic Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Rivian. Rivian is leading the pack today. I want to go over some of the current data points, talk on why it's going up as much as it is, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So currently it is up 2.41%. 8 million shares have been traded so far within the first about 45 minutes of the trading day. 41.6 million is the average. So today is going to be a very heavy volume day. These are some of the transactions that have occurred so far on the secondary market, over $100,000. So you do see one first thing this morning, 4.43 million. Aside from that though, a lot of big money is buying Rivian for various reasons that I'm going to break it down and talk on. But today, there has been no SEC filings, no press releases, nothing like that specific to Rivian. Rather, there has been a lot of good articles I'm going to talk on. There was an analyst rating that did come out 4 days ago, and that was by Canaccord George, who does have a 49% success rating, so not necessarily the best, but did give a buy and a $30 price target. So this is where Rivian is setting themselves apart from the rest. And analysts know that, because any hint of a downtrend with Rivian, analysts start to panic, cut ratings. Same goes for Lucid. But with Rivian, even though it went down to, I think it was 17 or 18 or whatever else it was, analysts held strong. You do see maybe RBC that cut their rating just to follow like a sheep ultimately, but the rest of them know what Rivian is doing, because just based on their balance sheet right now, they have about $7 equivalent per share of cash. That's it. That's crazy. So even if you look at the PS ratio, which currently is around 5.8, that's a 180 from what it recently was. When it was around 12, a lot of people were panicking, saying that it's too high, it needs to pull down, blah, blah, blah. So guess what? They ramped up their sales. PS ratio is looking a lot more of a value play rather than just overpriced. So a lot of people, I feel like, are starting to look at Rivian for what it truly is. And I've been saying this for the longest time, and I think Wall Street is just massively backwards, because when this stock goes down to like 16, 17, and it's done that multiple times, I say like this is a good deal, especially if you do feel long term like this is where you're going to be getting a lot of bang for your buck, especially by 2030. Like Rivian has laid the foundation for a very big successful company. A lot of people don't realize that. They start to just panic saying it's going to go down to 14, 15 or whatever else. So they neglect and they don't even get into Rivian. So once again, I think a lot of people are starting to realize that Rivian is a very big deal. Plus, looking at some of the technicals, I think it's looking very favorable. So I'm going to go over all that. But there was a good article that did come out that talks on two big catalysts for Rivian to capitalize on. One of which is just a brand new world. And this is how a lot of, I guess, countries, states, and everywhere else are going to be incorporating and moving towards EVs. So as you can kind of see, Unusual Whales did post, Canada is set to pass rules requiring all new vehicles sold in the country to be zero emissions by 2035. And the same goes for, I believe, California is 2035, the States is 2040, or it might be 2045, something like that. But regardless, you are going to see a transition into more and more EVs. So Rivian is going to stand to benefit. The second catalyst in here is talking on leasing. And I think this is more something that Rivian can really work on, because going under Rivian's website, it only shows leasing is available in select states, not everywhere, and not in Canada. So this is where, once again, it won't really capitalize on this. So in this article, it talks on how GM and a lot of other OEMs do capitalize pretty significantly on leasing, because 20% of all new vehicle sales are leasing. So this is something that could really be done for Rivian going forward. So that's something that Rivian currently does, but they can work on. So I feel like a lot of people are realizing that Rivian is not necessarily just smart, but they're business savvy, and you can kind of tell that from their earnings as well. So I'll go over some data points and everything else, starting off with shorts. As I've said in the past, I don't see Rivian being a short squeeze play by any means, just bringing this up as a benchmark. But currently shorts are returning 97,000 shares, so they're not really too active. 15.48% of the free float is being shorted. 103.84 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 1.04, so that's very low. And through interactive broker, short availability does indicate that there's around 10 million shares available to be shorted. So not too much activity on their front today. And starting off with this, so options activity. So far today, $9.04 million in calls being purchased versus 1.03 million in puts. So based on this information, a lot of people are anticipating for it to continue to trend up. Looking at some of the specific calls that is being purchased, it is anticipated for it to be above $25 by the end of this week. So very optimistic. And the Elliott wave that I kind of have been showing you over the last several Rivian videos has been holding to be very true. But looking at the puts, it is anticipated for it to be sub $20, which is kind of extreme. But I'm going to go over everything that you need to know, starting off with looking at some of the fib levels. So with it at $23.19, it is above all of the key pivot points. Just moving to a more of a specific, so the 4 hour, you can kind of see it is between this R1 and the R2, looking in the short term, of course. So 23.20, which is kind of flirting with right now, is a key point that you want to watch for, and it will dictate whether it trades between the P and the R1 or the R1 and the R2. So 21.20 is something to watch for. Vice versa, 24.44 is going to be the next strong resistance. Aside from that, looking at the momentum indicator, shows number of retail investors have been getting into Rivian. Stochastic is at 95. You do see a bullish sentiment, but with it at 95, it is considered rather overbought. So I feel like the technicals do need to pull down a little bit, but that's just my own interpretation, not a financial advisor, of course. But like I mentioned, when it comes down to the Elliott wave, this has actually held to be very accurate. I brought this up, like I mentioned, over the last couple of videos, but assuming it actually stays above the pivot, which I think is fair to assume it is, of 1630, it is projected to be between the $23.70 and $25 range in the short term. So once again, I feel like this is holding to be very true. Options activity is pointing to that $25 mark as well as a high. So it is fair to assume possibly that is very reasonable in the short term. The only other data point that is coming out this week that could disrupt any positive momentum with Rivian and the broader market is GDP numbers, and that is coming out on Thursday. If those numbers are negative, then you are going to see a broader pullback. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. It looks like Rivian's pulling back slightly as well, and that's most likely to do with the oversold status, but who knows? Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. If you are looking for a lot of good free content, take a look at Interactive Brokers for instance, the Elliott wave, analyst ratings, forecasts for upcoming earnings. Click on the link in the description below and also the comments for all of this to be completely free. So take advantage of this while you can. Link in the description below and also comments. But with all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.